Okay, if you're taking part in this build-off competition at Build-Off World, the windmill one, I noticed that a lot of you are having trouble getting the measurements and the joins right on polygonal, on rooms with many walls, however you pronounce it. So we can use Blender as a tool to do some of the calculations for us, so the maths isn't that hard. Okay, we're not actually going to make mesh walls, we're going to be making the prim walls inside Second Life, but we're going to use Blender and Mesh to give us the dimensions and everything we need to make them accurately. Okay, so we have a default scene here, default cube. Okay, now I want to come out of perspective. Let me turn on screencast keys. I want to come out of perspective and go into orthographic view, so I'm going to press number 5 on my keypad. Okay, and I want to plan view. I want to look down and see where my walls are going to sit, so I want a top view, so I'm going to press number 7 on my keypad. I'll just press the period key to bring that into the center, focus on it. Right, so we can imagine we've got this cube, same as we res a cube in Second Life. It's just a cube, nothing special about it. Now what we want to do is we want a series of these prims, let's call them prims for now, it'll be easier. A series of these prims around a center point that all match perfectly together to build the walls. Okay, so we got our cube, and what we'll do is we'll use our 3D cursor, the red and white ring, as the center point. Okay, so we're going to move the cube away from the center point. So I'm going to grab the cube and I'm going to move it on the y-axis. So G, Y, and I'm just going to choose a random number 4. Okay, so we've moved the center of the cube 4 meters away from our pivot point, our center. Okay, now what we're going to do is we're going to make a ring of these cubes, these prims, around this. So normally when we duplicate a prim or some geometry in Blender, we would use Shift and D. Okay, but today we're not going to. We're going to use Alt and D. I'll explain why in a minute. Okay, but before we do that, when we duplicate something, we want it to duplicate around this pivot point. Okay, so we'll come down here to our pivot point. Okay, and you see we got some options. Now we want it around the 3D cursor. Okay, and you'll see that our manipulator moves to that point. Right, now let's start duplicating these all the way around. How many walls do we want? Let's choose something that normally wouldn't be too easy to work out. Now let's choose 9. Sounds like a good figure. Right, I'm just going to bring up the system calculator. Okay, now what do we know? We know we got 360 degrees in a circle. Okay, when we're going all the way around. Okay, and we know we got 9 walls, or we want 9 walls, so we divide that by 9. Okay, that gives us 40 degrees. Okay, so each one of these will move around 40 degrees. Okay, 8 times to bring up the 9 prims, the 9 walls. Right, so first thing we're going to do is Alt D, enter to set that, then R to rotate. You'll see that my rotation line comes down to the pivot point and 40. There we go, 40 degrees away. Right, now we'll do this again. Alt D to copy it, enter, R 40. Okay, and keep doing this. Ooh, I kind of moved something. Let's go back to my top view. Okay, let me R. Yes, I'd already duplicated it, but I didn't press the R key, so we're in R. Let's just press 40. There we go. Alt D, enter, R 40. D, enter, R 40. Alt D, enter, R 40. Alt D, enter, R40, and finally Alt D, enter, R40. Okay, there we go. We've got our 9 prims all arranged in a circle. Okay, now the reason I used Alt D instead of Shift D is because when you duplicate using Alt D, any changes you make to one prim will be duplicated on all of them. Let's try that out. Let's get into edit mode with the tab key. Let's just choose this vertex here. You'll see the same one is selected on every prim. Okay, let's grab it and move it around, and you can see what's happening. Every prim is changing along with the first one. Okay, right. Now if you notice, I selected this one, and I can select any vertex on this prim, but I can't on any other prim. Okay, so if I go back into object mode, you'll see it's because this one is highlighted. If I highlighted this one, okay, I can select any vertex on this prim, but not on any other prim. Okay, so now what we're going to do is some scaling, some sizing. Now I want to make things easy. I want to scale on either the X or the Y axis. Alright, and the first prim I laid down, I moved up on the Y axis. It is already perfectly aligned, so I'm going to select that prim. Right, now we go back into edit mode with the tab key. I'm going to choose the vertices on the top of this prim. Okay, so I've got the outside of everything selected. Just hit 7 to go back into top view. Right, let's scale them. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to scale these edges out to meet each other. So S for scale, and and I want to do it on the X-axis. On this top prim, I want it to go left to right. So I've already hit the scale key. X for X-axis only. Let's scale these out. And look at that. They are just about meeting perfectly. Okay, you can really zoom in and get accurate with this if you want. So let's take this here, SX, and let's bring them back in together, SX, which is about there, there. Okay, scaling back to see the whole thing. Wonderful. So if we look, the outside of our walls is all joining. Okay, 7 key to come back to this. So now I'm going to do the same with the inside. I want them all to come in and join. Okay, so I select these two vertices, just tilt it a bit, select these two. Okay, 7 to come back into my top or my plan view. Excuse me. What I want to do is I want them all to meet in the center. Okay, so I can scale, and I don't want them to come in on the Z axis, the one that's pointing straight at the screen at us. I want that to remain the same, so I've got the same thickness of the cube. So Shift Z or Z, and that will constrain the scaling just to the X and Y axis, not Z. Shift Z is not Z or Z. Okay, so now I can scale to 0, and they all meet in the center. Enter to drop it. Okay, so we have this kind of pie thing going on. Right, let's come back into our top view, and let's come into object mode, and you can see the one we got selected right there. Okay, so what I'm going to do is I'm just going to select each of the others and delete it. So X to delete, X to delete, X to delete, and so on. So I'm just left with this one slice of the pie with its origin or its center point around the 3D cursor. Perfect. Alright, this is what we need. So I'm going to come into edit mode again, and I'm going to select these bottom vertices, and just delete them. Okay, there's one left there. There we go. Right, so I've just got this pie slice. Right, that's good. Now, what am I going to do? Good point. I'm going to select face mode down here. Okay, I'm going to select this face, and I'm going to delete the face only, but leave the vertices. I'll show you why in a minute. Okay, so if I X to delete, and make sure I delete just the face. Oh, I did something wrong there. Don't worry, Control Z. Trying to figure out what I did wrong there. Anyway, doesn't matter. We'll go at it another way. We got our vertices. Okay, now what I want to do, if we imagine we're going to make a prim, a tapered prim, okay, and our prim has to have these dimensions and angles. Alright, so if I turn it around this way and kind of this way, we could see we could do that with a square prim and tapered, and that's exactly what we're doing here. Right, so I'm just going to select these two vertices, and I'm going to subdivide them here to add an extra vertex here. Alright, that's good. Now let me try this face mode again. X, only faces. Right, that was it, only faces. That's where I went wrong. Let's come back into vertex mode here. You can see I've got 4 vertices here. Now if I select 3 and press F to make a face between those 3, and I can do the same for the other side. F to make a face. Alright, so this is basically a tapered prim in Second Life. It'll be explained in a minute. What I want now is my dimensions for that prim. Okay, so if I pull this out, shrink that down, and we come down to mesh display, numerics, face length, and look, we've got some dimensions. We know our prim is 5 meters high. It needs to be 1.82 multiplied by 2, because we've got 2 sides to that, so that's 3.64 meters wide. So let me just grab my tablet pen here and write down what we know and what we need. Okay, so what we have is 360 degrees divided by 9 equals 40 degrees. Okay, now we know we need a prim height. Prim 5 meters by, and we want to 1.82 times 2 equals 3.64 by 3.64 meters. Okay, we've got all these worked out. We don't need to worry about this one, so we need to worry about this complete width and this height. Okay, now we got that. Let me just end this sketching session. That way. Right, now we've got what we need. Let's go into Second Life. Well, actually, I'm going to go into my sim on a stick sim, but same thing. And let's build a prim. Okay. Now what we're going to do is taper this prim. So let's taper it. So we got a pie slice. Right. Now we want the height of this to match the height here, 5 meters. Okay, so that Z dimension needs to be 5 meters. Okay, and we want the width to match the complete width here, which is 1.82 times 2, 3.64 meters. Okay, so this X dimension, 3.64 meters. Okay, hopefully you can see these colors too well. Now let's lay this prim flat, so we're going to just rotate it using the manipulator to lay it flat. Now all I'm going to do here is make these nice even numbers to make it easier to work with. So and 20, let's make that 23. Okay, so this is one of the slices we will need to make a 9-side many walled wall. I was trying to say polygonal again, polygonal, I don't know. Right, so what we'll need to do is raise a cylinder. Okay, and let's put it on top here. Okay, now I'm going to make this cylinder taller than this 5 meters here, so this Z dimension, this rotation size, let's make it 1 meter. Right, now come back to our slice, let's copy the position exactly, so copy, and then we can paste that to our prim. So this cylinder should be exactly halfway along. Okay, now we want to move the center of this cylinder to the very edge of this. We know this is 5 meters in length, which is this Z dimension, so we want to move this 2.5 meters forward on the y-axis. Now most third-party viewers, if we go to position here, we've got this 135. We come to the end of it and write plus 2.5 and enter. You'll see it moves exactly 2.5 meters, as it was. The 2.5 is half of this 5 meters. Okay, so let's select this one and link it so the cylinder is the root. Okay, right, now what I can do is shift copy this up. Perfect. Now we need a rotation of 40 degrees, so let's rotate it around the z-axis, the up and down one, by 40. Okay, what I can then do is unlink this, select the cylinder, delete it. Okay, now we know we already set the height of this at 23 meters, so let's just set this the same, 23. Okay, now we can do this again, select the first one with the cylinder, we can shift copy upwards, if I can grab the handle. Where was I? Here we go. Shift copy upwards. Okay, now we need to rotate this again, so we know we rotated it by 40, but we're on a second one, so star or multiply by 2. Okay, then we can come back to, sorry, we can unlink this, we can delete the cylinder, and we can drop this back down to 23 meters. Okay, now we can keep doing this all the way. I'll probably pause the video at this point until it's done, and I'll see you on the other side. Okay, welcome back. I've laid out these brims, and I've just put some colours on them to make them easier to see. So what we got is we got the 9 brims and our centerpiece. Let me just unlink this centerpiece and delete it. There we go. And we can see we've got 9 segments all perfectly aligned. The angles are perfect. Everything we want. Okay, so how do we make these into a wall? Quite simple. Let's edit one. Let's go to the object, and we use the end slice because we want it to come this way. And how thick do we want a wall? 0.2. That looks okay. And we do the same with the rest. 1.2. 1.2. So imagine if you needed a base, you've got a perfect base there. And if you need walls, 1.2, you just slide to get the thickness of the wall. 1.2. Slice end, 0.2. 3 more to go. 1.2. 1.2. 1.2. Okay, at this point I think I'm just going to link them all so I don't lose a shape. So shift select, there we go, 6, 7, 8, link. Alright, so there we have our 9-sided walls. Very short walls though, aren't they? So let's go into edit linked, let's choose one, and we want to increase this, the thickness of wall. Now because we flick the prim, this is actually the X dimension. So say we want 4 meter high walls. Okay, there you see we've got 4 meters. To make the rest of them, copy that and paste it. Okay, missed one out there somewhere. There we go. Paste. Okay, so now we have a 9-sided polygonal room. I'm going to stick with can't even say it now. Polygonal for now. Okay. What? You want a window? No problem. Just hollow one out. And that is how to use Blender to do the easy maps. Hope this helps.